All right, buckle up, everyone, because we're diving headfirst into the world of Formula One.
Like it. It's that time of year again.
That's right, preseason testing for the 2025 season is just days away, and we are on the edge of our seats waiting to see what these new cars can do.
The excitement in the air is palpable. Every team, every driver, they've all been working tirelessly behind the scenes, and now we finally get a glimpse of what they've been cooking up.
It all kicks off in Bahrain from the 26th to the 28th of February.
3 days of intense scrutiny where every lap time, every tweak, every whisper in the paddock could hold the key to the entire season.
And you know what makes it even more interesting? It's the final year of these regulations.
Oh yeah, the stakes are higher than ever. Teams are going all in to extract every ounce of performance before the big shakeup in 2026.
Speaking of shakeups, the driver market has been a whirlwind. Let's not forget the rumors swirling about groundbreaking technical innovations. We've got a ton to unpack.
Absolutely, and some teams are playing their cards close to their chest. AstonMartin, Mercedes, even Red Bull are keeping their 2025 cars tightly under wraps.
Just fuels the speculation, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure, they're keeping us all guessing. But the team I'm particularly curious about is Red Bull. They had a few unexpected hiccups towards the end of 2024.
Yeah, those struggles were definitely surprising.
So the big question is, how will their new car address those issues? Will they risk a shakedown before official testing begins? That's a story I want to see unfold.
A shakedown. Now, I know we've got some diehard F1 fans out there, but for those who might not be familiar with all the lingo, what exactly is a shakedown?
It's a good question. A shakedown is essentially a very early test run of the car, often done on a smaller, less demanding track. It's a chance for the team to iron out any kinks, ensure all the systems are functioning properly before they unleash the car in a full-blown testing environment.
So it's like a dress rehearsal before the main event.
Exactly.
Okay, so while we all love to obsess over those early lap times, you and I both know better than to get carried away with the initial numbers, right? Testing can be a bit deceptive.
You hit the nail on the head. There are so many factors at play during testing. Fuel loads, engine modes, tire compounds, even the track conditions can skew the results. It's not always a true reflection of the car's ultimate pace.
It's like judging a book by its cover. You need to delve deeper to understand the full story.
Exactly. The real insights come from analyzing the long-run pace, the feedbacks from the drivers, how the car behaves on track, especially when they're pushing it to the limit. That's where we start to separate the pretenders from the contenders.
And that reminds me of something George Russell said. Within 5 laps, if you're in for a good season or not, maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but there's some truth to that gut feeling drivers get when they first push the car to its limits.
It's that initial impression, that sense of whether the car's working with them or fighting them, that's invaluable. But as I said, the real analysis goes far beyond those first impressions.
Now we can't talk about preseason testing without addressing the elephant in the room, Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari. The move that sent shockwaves through the F1 world, and now we finally get to see it play out on track.
It's the storyline everyone's talking about, but let's not underestimate the challenges Hamilton faces adapting to a new car, new team dynamics, the pressure of carrying the hopes of the Tifosi. It's a whole new ballgame.
He's stepping into the lion's den.
Exactly. And remember his comments about the steep learning curve and the newfound respect he has for drivers like Alonso and Vettel who've actually won at Ferrari. That speaks volumes about the pressure he's under.
It's a high-stakes gamble for both Hamilton and Ferrari.
Absolutely. And of course, everyone will be comparing his performance to his teammate, Charles Leclerc.
2 incredibly talented drivers battling it out in the same machinery.
It's going to be fascinating to see how that dynamic plays out. But as we've said, testing data can only tell us so much. We need to see how the season unfolds.
Speaking of new faces, there's a whole wave of rookies hitting the grid this year. Oscar Piastri, Jack Doohan, Kimi Antonelli, Isaac Hadjar, and Gabriele Barretto. What a talented group.
It's an exciting time for these young drivers. Testing is their baptism by fire. They need to learn, fast prove their worth, and show they deserve to be in Formula One.
It's a sink-or-swim moment for them.
Precisely. And it's going to be fascinating to see who rises to the occasion.
Some of these rookies have prior F1 experience, some have tested older cars, and others are making their Grand Prix debut. It'll be interesting to see how their diverse backgrounds play out.
It's a melting pot of talent and potential, that's for sure.
But while these rookies are focused on the here and now, there's a looping shadow over the 2025 season. The 2026 regulation changes. They're a pretty big deal, right?
Absolutely massive. We're talking a complete overhaul of car design, which puts teams in a tricky position. Should they focus all their efforts on maximizing their 2025 car or start shifting resources to developing their 2026 contender? It's a strategic tightrope walk.
And we're already seeing teams taking different approaches. McLaren, for example, is really pushing the boundaries with their anti-dive suspension system. For those of us who aren't engineers, break that down for us. What does anti-dive suspension actually do, and why is McLaren taking such a gamble with it?
Okay, so in simple terms, anti-dive suspension aims to minimize the lows of the car dipping down during braking. It's all about improving stability and maintaining a more consistent platform for the aerodynamics to work. McLaren's aggressive approach with this system could be a masterstroke if it gives them a performance edge, but it could also backfire spectacularly if it proves unreliable or difficult to fine-tune.
So it's high risk, high reward.
You got it.
And then there's Ferrari's switch to pull rod suspension. I'll admit this one's a bit over my head. What's the thinking behind that change, and what kind of impact could it have?
Pull rod suspension, unlike the more common push rod system, places the suspension components below the chassis rather than above it. This can lower the car's center of gravity, potentially improving handling. However, it can also make the suspension more complex and sensitive to adjustments. It's too early to say how this will affect Ferrari's performance, but it's a significant change that we'll be watching closely.
So many variables to consider. And just to add another layer of complexity, let's not forget the FIA's crackdown on flexi wings, starting from the Spanish Grand Prix. What exactly are flexi wings, and why is the FIA clamping down on them?
Flexi wings are essentially designed to bend or deform at high speed, reducing drag and increasing straight-line speed. It's a clever way to exploit loopholes in the regulations, but the FIA believes it goes against the spirit of the rules and creates an unfair advantage.
So it's a bit of a gray area.
It is, and this crackdown could be a real game changer for some teams, especially those who might have been pushing the boundaries a bit too far.
It throws another wrench into the development race. Teams might have to scramble to redesign their wings mid-season, which could shake up the pecking order.
Absolutely. And speaking of shakeups, let's talk about a team that's become almost synonymous with drama, both on and off the track, Alpine.
Ah, Alpine. They always seem to find themselves in the headlines.
They do, don't they?
So what's the latest saga unfolding in their camp?
Well, the Jack Doohan and Franco Colapinto situation certainly caused a stir. Alpine's handling of that driver pairing raised a few eyebrows, to say the least.
It was a controversial decision for sure. It'll be interesting to see how those two drivers work together throughout the season. But despite their reputation for drama, Alpine can be a real force when they're firing on all cylinders. They've got some serious technical expertise, particularly with someone like David Sanchez at the helm.
David Sanchez is a brilliant engineer, no doubt. And with the stability they've had in recent years, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make significant strides in 2025. They're definitely a team with the potential to upset the established order.
So a dark horse to keep an eye on. I like it.
Speaking of teams with a point to prove, this is the last season we'll see the Sauber name before they become Audi in 2026.
It's the end of an era, and after finishing last in 2024, Sauber is under immense pressure to demonstrate progress and prove they're worthy of carrying the Audi badge. There's a lot riding on this season for them, especially since some early renders of the car have been met with skepticism, particularly from seasoned observers like Gary Anderson.
Gary Anderson knows his stuff, so his doubts are certainly worth considering. Will Sauber surprise us with a competitive car? Or will this be a farewell season marked by struggles? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
The anticipation is killing me. All right, so we've talked about some of the big names, but let's not forget about the second Red Bull team, now officially rebranded as Racing Bulls. They've made some major moves, relocating to the main Red Bull campus, sporting a bold new livery, and clearly emphasizing their close ties to the main team.
It's a fascinating development. The question is, will all this translate into on-track performance? How closely will the Racing Bulls car resemble the dominant Red Bull? We've only seen glimpses so far, so Bahrain will be our first real opportunity to assess their pace.
It's a big test for them, for sure. And let's not forget about the rookies. You might lack experience, but they've all been putting in the work, some even testing older F1 cars to prepare for this moment.
They're eager to prove themselves. It's going to be fascinating to see which rookies hit the ground running and who might struggle with the step up to Formula One. Will any of them challenge their more experienced teammates? It's always an intriguing dynamic.
Definitely. Now, one team we haven't touched on yet, but who I think could be a real factor this year is Williams.
Williams, they've had a rough time lately. What makes you think they could be in the mix?
Well, they've had some much-needed stability in recent years, which has allowed them to build a solid foundation. Shopping and changing drivers and team personnel every other season doesn't exactly breed success.
You're absolutely right. Consistency is key in Formula One, and they've also got a young, hungry driver lineup that could surprise people. Alex Albon has shown flashes of brilliance in the past, and Logan Sargent is no slouch either.
Exactly. So while they might not be challenging for the championship, I wouldn't be surprised to see them consistently picking up points and maybe even sneaking onto the podium if things go their way. A bit of a dark horse, perhaps.
I like it. A dark horse to watch out for. It just goes to show that in Formula One, anything can happen. And that unpredictability is what makes it so captivating.
Couldn't agree more. But speaking of unpredictable, let's talk about a team that's become synonymous with drama, Haas. They've had their fair share of ups and downs over the years, from their meteoric rise in their debut season to their struggles with sponsorship and driver controversies.
Haas is never boring, that's for sure. But what intrigues me about them this year is their new partnership with Andretti Autosport. This collaboration could really shake things up in the midfield.
The American Dream Team. Michael Andretti has been trying to enter F1 for years, and now he's finally got his foot in the door. How do you see this partnership working in practice? Will we see a significant performance boost from Haas?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Andretti brings a wealth of motorsport experience and a fresh perspective to the team. But integrating two different cultures and working styles can be a challenge. It'll be fascinating to see how they navigate those hurdles and how quickly they can turn their collaboration into results on track.
Definitely a storyline to follow closely. And let's not forget about another American team, one that's already made its mark in Formula One, Alfa Romeo.
Ah, yes, Alfa Romeo, a team with an iconic name but a somewhat turbulent recent past. They've had moments of brilliance, but all periods of inconsistency. What's your take on their prospects for 2025?
Well, they've kept Valtteri Bottas, who's a proven race winner and consistently scores points, and they've brought in young Theo Pourchaire, considered one of the most promising balance coming up through the ranks.
It's a solid driver pairing, no doubt, but the key for Alfa Romeo will be developing a car that can consistently challenge for points. They've shown glimpses of their potential, but they need to string together strong performances throughout the season if they want to move up the grid.
Consistency is key, as you said earlier. And with the midfield battle expected to be tighter than ever, Alfa Romeo will need to be on top of their game to stay ahead of the pack. One thing that could work in their favor is that they've got a head start on some of their rivals when it comes to 2026 development.
That's a good point. They've been working on their new power unit with Artie for a while now, and that early preparation could give them a significant advantage when the new regulations kick in.
While other teams are scrambling to adapt, Alfa Romeo could have a more refined package ready to go. It's all about playing the long game. And speaking of long games, let's talk about a team that's been quietly rebuilding and could be a force to be reckoned with in the coming years, AlphaTauri.
The Red Bull Junior team, they've always been a bit of an enigma, haven't they? Capable of producing stunning results one minute and then fading into the background the next.
They have, but I sense a real purpose about them now. They've got a clear direction, a strong driver lineup, with Yuki Tsunoda leading the charge and, of course, the backing of Red Bull.
And let's not forget about Nick DeVries. He might not have the same hype as some of the other young drivers, but he's incredibly consistent and experienced.
Absolutely. That experience could be invaluable as they continue to develop their car and strive for better results. They might not be challenging for podiums just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them regularly in the points and becoming a fixture in the top 10. It's exciting to see so many teams with the potential to make an impact this year. It feels like we're on the verge of a new era in Formula One.
I couldn't agree more. The 2026 regulation changes are looming large, and there's a whole wave of young drivers hungry to make their mark. And with preseason testing just around the corner, we're about to get our first real glimpse of what this new era might hold.
It's going to be an exciting season, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Buckle up, everyone, because we are in for a wild ride. Oh, it's going to be a roller coaster ride, that's for sure.
So let's have some fun and dive into the realm of speculation. What are your bold predictions for the 2025 season? Any hot takes you're willing to share?
All right, here's one that might rustle a few feathers. I predict that George Russell will outscore Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari.
Whoa, now that's a bold statement. I have to admit, I'm a little surprised by that one. Hamilton is a 7-time world champion, and while Ferrari has had its ups and downs, they're still a legendary team. What makes you think Russell will come out on top?
Well, remember we talked about the pressure cooker Hamilton is stepping into at Ferrari, adapting to a new car, new team dynamic. Even for a driver with his experience, it takes time. Russell, on the other hand, is already comfortable at Mercedes. He's consistently delivered strong performances. I think he might just hit the ground running at Ferrari and could even steal a few wins from Hamilton.
Interesting. You've definitely given me something to think about. Russell has certainly proven he's got the talent, and he doesn't shy away from a challenge. Okay, I'll play along. My bold prediction is that McLaren will win a race this year.
Now that's a spicy one. McLaren has been quietly making progress, and they're not afraid to take risks with their car design, as we saw with that anti-dive suspension system. If those risks pay off, they could definitely be in the mix for a race win.
They've got landonorris, too. He's matured into a top-tier driver, more than capable of taking that top step if he's given the right car. Okay, enough about predictions. Let's talk potential flashpoints. What are some of the rivalries or controversies that could ignite this season?
Oh, that's easy. The battle for supremacy between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc is going to be electric.
Oh, yeah.
They're both incredibly talented, fiercely competitive. If Ferrari can keep up their momentum, we're going to see some epic duels between those two.
I can already picture it. The wheel-to-wheel battles, the aggressive overtakes, the post-race interviews filled with tension. It's going to be must-see TV.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the intensity of the midfield battle. The fight for points is going to be brutal. We could see some fireworks between drivers like Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly. They're all known for their no-compromise approach to racing.
It's going to be a season full of drama, that's for sure. Okay, let's wrap things up with a little bit of fun. If you could build your dream F1 team for 2025, who would be your drivers and team principal?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So many great options to choose from. For drivers, I think I'd have to go with Max Verstappen for his raw speed and Charles Leclerc for his racecraft and strategic thinking. That combination would be formidable.
I like it. Two of the most exciting drivers on the grid. And for team principal.
Now, that's a real head scratcher. There are so many great team principals in Formula One, but I think I'd have to choose Gunther Steiner.
Oh, Gunther Steiner.
He's a straight shooter, he knows how to motivate a team, and let's be honest, he's pure entertainment gold.
Huh. I can only imagine the team radio conversations with those three personalities. Okay, my dream team would be Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris. They'd bring a great blend of experience and youthful energy. And to keep everything running smoothly, I'd have Toto Wolff at the helm.
That's a strong lineup. You could definitely challenge for the championship with that team.
Well, we could spend all day building fantasy F1 teams, but sadly our deep dive has come to an end.
It's been a fascinating journey, though. We've analyzed the cars, the drivers, the teams. We even dared to make some bold predictions.
And I think we can all agree that the 2025 Formula One season is shaping up to be one for the ages.
Remember, preseason testing is just a glimpse of what's to come. The real action begins at the first race.
So buckle up, everyone. Get ready for the roar of the engines and join us for the most thrilling ride in motorsport.
We'll be here every step of the way, analyzing every overtake, every pit stop, every twist and turn.
This deep dive has only scratched the surface. There are so many more stories waiting to be told, so many battles yet to be fought.
We can't wait to see how it all unfolds. The 2025 Formula One season is about to begin, and we're all in for a thrilling ride.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be an epic season. But before we let you go, I want to hear your bold predictions. Any hot takes you're willing to share?
All right, let's play that game. What's got you buzzing? What crazy things do you think we might see this year?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Fernando Alonso is going to pull off a surprise podium finish.
Alonso, really? I mean, he's a legend, no doubt, but he's been struggling to find that top step magic in recent years. I know. But I have a feeling this could be his year. He's still got that fire in his belly. He's incredibly consistent. And if Alpine can give him a car that's even remotely competitive, I think he could make some noise.
Okay, I'll bite. You've piqued my interest. I'm going to say that we're going to see a rookie sensation emerge.
Oh, interesting. Which one are you putting your money on?
I'm going with Oscar Piastri. He's got the pedigree, he's shown incredible pace in the lower formulas, and he's joining a McLaren team that's on the rise. I think he could be a real dark horse.
I like it. Piastri definitely has the potential to turn heads. Now, for a slightly less bold prediction, but one that I think is worth mentioning, I believe we're going to see a resurgence from Alfa Romeo.
Alfa Romeo, they've been a bit of a mixed bag lately. What makes you think they're going to turn things around?
Well, they've got a solid driver lineup with Bottas and Porchera. They've got the stability of the Audi partnership, and they've been working on their 2026 car for a while now. That early development could give them an edge this year.
So you think they're going to be reaping the benefits of their long-term planning?
Exactly. They might not be challenging for the championship, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them consistently in the points and maybe even fighting for a podium or two.
Now, for something completely different, what's one thing you're hoping to see this season that has nothing to do with lap times or championship battles?
Oh, that's a good one. You know what I really hope to see? More of that camaraderie between the drivers. We've seen some great moments of sportsmanship and friendship between them off track. And I think it would be fantastic to see more of that translate to the on-track battles, hard but fair racing with mutual respect.
I agree. Those moments of genuine connection between the drivers, they really elevate the sport. It reminds us that at the end of the day, it's about passion and pushing the limits, not just about winning at all costs.
Exactly. So fingers crossed for a season filled with thrilling racing, but also with those heartwarming moments that remind us why we love this sport.
Well said. It's been an absolute blast diving deep into the world of Formula One with you. I feel like we've only scratched the surface, though.
We have. There are so many more stories to tell, so many more battles to be fought.
But for now, we must bid farewell to our listeners. Until next time, keep the racing spirit alive.
And remember, the 2025 Formula One season is just the beginning. The best is yet to come.